Hello and welcome. My name is Remkus and I'm a WordPress and WooCommerce Performance Specialist. Today's topic is how can AI make WordPress faster? Now, before we can answer that question properly, we need to start having the discussion about what is AI in terms of its relationship to WordPress. So if we're looking to make WordPress faster, what does that actually mean? I'm going to split this presentation on this topic in a few different ways. I try to answer the question from a developer perspective and a site builder's perspective, because making WordPress faster is not a single layer, right? There are multiple layers at play here, and some of them have huge impacts on performance, and some of them have less of an impact on performance. And there's also a different type of performance. We can make the distinction between the performance of the front end, and we can make a distinction of the performance in the back end. Meaning, I'll give you an example. If you have a WooCommerce site, you can make a category page of products, a product page, all of that. You can make that fast. You can have the core web vitals being imperfectly everything 100, and you can still have a slow site. And the same is vice versa. You can have a fast backend. You can have 20, 30,000 products in there and everything loads fast and smoothly, but there is a way to present the products on the front page in a horrendously slow fashion. So going forward in the next couple of minutes of this presentation, I'm going to list the few things that I think AI is most definitely surfacing in how can we make it work for us so that we can make WordPress faster. So let's dive in. So the most obvious thing that you can use, and I'm going to just use one name going forward. I'm going to say ChatGPT. I don't think it is. I don't think it works to list out all of the different AI versions we currently have here. But I'm going to start with the very first thing that is the most logical thing to use an AI for. So that means whenever you are building something, whether that is a low-code solution within WordPress, whether that is purely from a developer's perspective, the treasure trove that is ChatGPT is available for you. That means whenever you are building a function, or when you're thinking of something to add to your site, whether that is a plugin, whether that is a completely custom solution that you have to build from scratch, ChatGPT is there for you in terms of whenever there's a function and you're not sure if there's a faster route for that particular function to be executed, then ChatGPT to the rescue. So the only caveat here is that you need to test every single time you ask ChatGPT to provide you some code. But there's various ways of doing that. So I would suggest, of course, to always have a staging site or something on your local machine where you can properly test. But understanding that ChatGPT is there for you and helping you answer all your questions you have, that's the first thing that you can use. So one of the examples that I've used in the past quite a few times is when I've inherited a project that had a large chunk of spaghetti code. And spaghetti code, if you don't know what that is essentially, let's call it 1,000 lines of code, which are very hard to read. There's lots of little things happening. Logic is missing. There's no documentation. You're kind of guessing what it does. It's very hard to fix it. Now, ChatGPT is quite good at solving that puzzle for you. So it will help you by explaining so I would ask it to help me explain what this code does, give me documentation for it in line, all of that sort of stuff. I would paste then the spaghetti code, the function that I would need clarification on, and then it would tell me, this is what's doing, that's how it's doing, this and this and that. So it gives me insight in what the function does. Now, the next step is me asking it to find ways where it can provide a performance gain. And the beauty of this is that there's a lot of documentation on the web already existing on various, for instance, PHP functions. Some of them are faster than others. ChatGPT has access to this. And my experience is that for 9 out of 10 times, it comes up with ideas of how to make an existing piece of code first of all, more legible, so it's nicer to read. It is readable. It's good to be processed in. Okay, so how do I change this? Because there's documentation now, and then it offers you ideas on how to optimize it. Again, this is testing. This is a more developer-oriented solution, how you can use AI. But this is the very first one I would start. I would implore you to start looking at and finding ways of how to implement this. Now, another way how AI can help make your WordPress site faster is not just looking at what is existing, but when you're creating new stuff. So one of the things that it's really good at is code and script optimization. Now, there's solutions that do that for you. An example would be WP Rocket or NitroPack. Those are solutions that work alongside AI, not necessarily ChatGPT, but there are AIs working there to make your site faster. So what does that mean? It means if you look at the assets that your site is loading, and specifically I'm looking at CSS here because that's the most easy one to start using. Whenever you're using something that optimizes your CSS, that is a calculation of sorts. A calculation of which CSS is being used on which page. So critical CSS is a good example of that. Critical CSS essentially says we're only highlighting the first part of CSS that is needed to render this page, and then the rest will load later. What this does, it helps you improve your core Web Vital scores, and it's something that is baked into like the plugins that I mentioned. NitroPack as an example, WP Rocket is as well, but there are more solutions like that. Code and script optimization is also something that you can do with ChatGPT. So that means I'll give you the example that I highlighted first. That was the getting an optimized version of your code. But what ChatGPT also can do is help you find redundant or even inefficient code. Code that is redundant or inefficient is by pure definition slowing down your site. So that's something that you can start asking the AI to fix for you. It will help you refine your code. So that's the second thing that I would like to highlight. A third solution, which is not necessarily a WordPress product to use, but it is a product that helps your WordPress site become faster. Now, what is that product? That is called Cloudflare. Cloudflare is an optimization tool that uses a bunch of AI. One of the things it does is machine learning used to ward off the bots that are hammering your site, trying to get in. So Cloudflare is what we call a proxy, which means that it positions itself between your site and the browser, which means that the traffic is diverted through Cloudflare and then is allowed to or not hit your WordPress server. And your WordPress server will then spin up the WordPress application and present the URL that was being requested in the browser. Now, in that process, it does a lot of machine learning where the connection, all the ways that the browser is connected, as well as the measuring what kind of traffic it is, whether it is malware, bots, or any other malicious stuff, is a great way to implement AI into your site to make it faster. Without actually having to do very much. The only thing you need to do is connect your site to a Cloudflare account, and Cloudflare will essentially take care of you, take care of the performance enhancing part. It is a performance enhancement specifically because it blocks traffic that isn't needed on your server, right? So you don't need to process bad bots, and anything you don't have to process doesn't cost any resource. So therefore, less traffic, and the traffic that is there is more specific, and thus you can have that a higher performance version. The second component of this is Cloudflare not only wards off all the unwanted traffic, it also optimizes the traffic that is coming across. And what I mean by that is that within Cloudflare, you have options to optimize the output of the HTML, the CSS, and even the JavaScript. So next up, there's also a bunch of extra premium features. One of them is Argo, also a highly AI-driven type of solution that is helping you, your site essentially find the best route to the browser in an optimized and faster version. It's by far the tool that I use the most, I would say, combined with some version of an optimizing front-end output. Like I've mentioned in the previous tip, that is NitroPack or WP Rocket. But Cloudflare sort of catches a different end of the spectrum here, and it works perfectly in conjunction with one of those tools. But as I mentioned before, it's highly AI-driven and very much recommended to start using to get a faster WordPress site. Which brings me to the last item I would like to highlight. It's an item which is not necessarily core performance, is not making your site faster in the traditional sense of decreasing loading times or higher core web vitals, and nothing like that per se. However, it does help because it is about the performance of your site in terms of how your site is being viewed, how that particular content is performing, which I think is a oftentimes overlooked component in making your site faster. The intent that your site viewer has is very hard to measure, and this particular solution does a great job in providing exactly that. It's called Altus Accelerate. It is created by Altus DXP. What they do is they have various blocks, from A/B testing to personalization blocks and all these types of things that help you customize your site to a much higher degree than you would normally have. And in that, it allows you to track its performance as well. So you can actually measure how your site is doing. So again, maybe not an example in the literal sense of performance, but it most certainly is AI helping you get a better and faster WordPress site. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next one.